The unexpected war. The air was full of smoke and fire. Strange machines exploded in the sky, sending metal pieces raining down. All around, alien voices shouted in fear. It was supposed to be a quiet day at the outpost on planet Kalira, but everything changed in one terrible moment. Ethan, a human soldier, ran through the chaos. His uniform was already covered with dirt and blood. He wasn't afraid. This was not his first war, but he knew this one felt different. The enemy was unknown, their weapons stronger and faster than anything the humans or their alien friends had seen before. Beside Ethan ran Lyra, a young alien girl from the Kaliran race. Her skin glowed a soft blue in the firelight. She held a small energy blade, but her hands shook. She had never seen real war, only heard stories from her elders. Now, all those stories seemed like lies. War was not brave or beautiful. It was loud, ugly, and full of pain. A huge explosion threw Ethan and Lyra to the ground. The ground shook under them. Dust and rocks filled the air. Lyra coughed and tried to stand, but her legs felt weak. Ethan reached out and grabbed her arm, helping her up. "Are you okay?" Ethan asked, his voice steady. Lyra nodded, but she was shaking. "What do we do now?" Ethan looked around. The outpost walls were broken, and enemy machines crawled closer. He saw their red eyes scanning for survivors. "We have to move. Stay behind me." They moved together, ducking behind a broken wall. Suddenly, a metal beam fell from above, trapping Ethan's arm against the ground. He tried to pull free, but it was too heavy. Lyra gasped and tried to help, but she was not strong enough. Ethan gritted his teeth. The pain was sharp, running up his arm. He looked at Lyra, who stared at him with wide, terrified eyes. "Listen to me," Ethan said. "You have to stay calm. The enemy is close." Lyra wanted to run, but she couldn't leave Ethan alone. "What about your arm?" Ethan forced a small smile. "I'll handle it." Without waiting, Ethan grabbed his trapped arm with his other hand. He took a deep breath, then pulled hard. There was a loud pop, and his arm slid free from under the beam. But it hung at a strange angle, dislocated. Lyra's heart almost stopped. "Your arm, it's broken," she cried. Ethan shook his head. "Not broken, just out of place." He sat back, breathing slowly. Then, with one quick movement, he pushed his arm against the wall and pulled. There was a sickening crack. Lyra looked away, sure he would scream. But Ethan only let out a deep breath and wiped the sweat from his forehead. "That's better," he said softly, rolling his shoulder. "Can you move now?" Lyra was speechless. She had never seen anyone fix their own arm like that. In her world, even a small injury was a reason to panic. But Ethan didn't even flinch. How could a human be so calm in so much pain? The enemy machines came closer. Ethan pulled Lyra to her feet. "We have to go. Don't look back." They ran through the broken camp, dodging fire and falling debris. Every step was dangerous, but Ethan led the way, never slowing down. Lyra followed, her heart pounding. She kept looking at Ethan's face, searching for any sign of fear. But he looked straight ahead, focused and determined. Finally, they reached a safe corner behind a pile of ruined crates. Ethan checked his arm, then started wrapping it with a piece of cloth from his kit. Lyra couldn't stay silent any longer. "How did you do that?" she asked quietly. "Didn't it hurt?" Ethan nodded. "Of course it hurt, but pain is part of life. If you stop every time it hurts, you never move forward." Lyra thought about this. In her culture, pain was something to avoid at all costs. Healers gave strong medicines for even the smallest wounds. But this human just kept moving, ignoring his own pain. Suddenly, a group of other Kaliran aliens ran over, their eyes wide with fear. One of them pointed at Ethan. Did he just reset his own arm? Without screaming? Lyra nodded slowly. He did. The group stared at Ethan as if he were some kind of legend. Ethan just finished tying his bandage and looked up at them. "We're not done yet," he said. There are still people out there who need help. Let's go. As they moved out into the burning camp, Lyra realized something important. Humans were different, brave, strange, maybe even a little crazy. But in this war, maybe crazy was what they needed most. First impressions, lasting fear. Lyra couldn't sleep that night. The noise of battle faded, but in her mind, the picture of Ethan resetting his own arm played again and again. She had never seen anyone act like that. Among her people, even the bravest warriors called for medics at the first sign of pain. Yet this human just fixed himself and kept going. Why? Outside the tent, the night was cold. The camp was quiet. But every now and then, a distant blast reminded everyone that the enemy was still out there. Lyra stepped outside, wrapping herself in a thin blanket. She walked past rows of sleeping soldiers, both alien and human. But her eyes searched for only one person. She found Ethan sitting by a small fire, fixing his armor. His injured arm was in a rough sling, but he worked with steady hands. Lyra watched from a distance, not sure if she should speak. The way he moved, so calm after everything, she felt both respect and fear. Suddenly, another alien soldier came running, panting and scared. He knelt by the fire, eyes wide. "They say you reset your own arm," he whispered to Ethan, almost afraid. "Is it true?" Ethan looked up, his face lit by the firelight. He simply nodded. The alien soldier shook his head. "We have strong painkillers, and even then we scream. But you just did it. Are all humans like this?" Ethan gave a small smile. "Not all, some scream too. But we learn to deal with pain, especially during war. If we don't survive." Lyra finally gathered courage and sat down across from Ethan. "Is it true what you said before? That pain reminds you you're alive?" Ethan looked at her, eyes tired but gentle. "Yes, pain is part of life. I don't like it. No one does. But if I give in every time I'm hurt, I can't help anyone. I can't protect my friends." A silence fell between them. The alien soldier glanced nervously at Ethan's bandaged arm, then at Lyra. "Our people are afraid," he said softly. "They think humans are different, maybe too different. Some say you don't feel pain at all." Ethan shook his head. "We feel pain, just like you. Maybe we just hide it better." Suddenly, a scream broke the quiet night. A young Kaliran was brought to the fire by two humans. His leg was bleeding badly. Lyra rushed to help, her hands shaking. Ethan calmly tore a piece from his own uniform and pressed it on the wound. The injured alien sobbed, eyes full of terror. "Breathe," Ethan said softly. "Look at me, you'll be okay. Pain will come, but it will also go. Just hold on." The injured Kaliran tried to copy Ethan's deep breathing. The other aliens watched, some in awe, some still afraid. Lyra saw the respect in their eyes, but also something else, a question. Could they ever be as strong? After the young Kaliran was taken to the medics, Lyra turned to Ethan. "Will you teach me?" She asked suddenly, how to handle pain, how to stay calm. Ethan nodded, a small smile on his face. "I'll try. But it's not magic. It's just practice and a bit of stubbornness." Lyra nodded. She was afraid, but also excited. She had seen the difference between panic and calm, and she wanted to change. Later, as the fire burned low, rumors spread around the camp. Some aliens feared the humans, calling them monsters who laughed at pain. Others admired them, wanting to learn their secrets. For Lyra, it was the beginning of something new, a lesson that pain could be faced, not just feared. As she drifted off to sleep, Lyra thought about Ethan's words. Maybe pain was not the end of hope, but the start of strength. Strange lessons. The next morning, Lyra woke up with a new feeling inside her. It wasn't just fear, it was curiosity. She wanted to know what made humans so strong. Why could Ethan control his pain while her own people seemed so weak? She found Ethan near the training grounds. The camp was still damaged, but life had returned. Human and alien soldiers fixed walls, shared food, and tried to smile. Even when their hearts were heavy, Lyra walked up to Ethan as he was testing his injured arm. He moved it slowly, pain showing on his face for only a second. He noticed Lyra watching and smiled. "Ready for your first lesson?" Lyra nodded, her nerves clear. She sat down across from him on the ground. Ethan started simply. "First, don't run from pain. If you're hurt, breathe slow and deep. Think about something good, not just the pain." Lyra tried to copy his breathing. She remembered her family and the safe days before the war. It helped a little, but her mind kept jumping back to the fear. Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny needle from his first aid kit. "Want to try something small?" he asked. Lyra's eyes widened. "You want me to hurt myself?" Ethan laughed softly. "Not hurt. Just a little pinch. I want you to see you can handle it." Lyra hesitated but nodded. She pressed the needle lightly against her own finger. She flinched at the sting, but didn't cry out. Instead, she tried to focus on her breathing like Ethan showed her. "It hurts, but I can control it," she said, surprised at her own words. Ethan smiled proudly. "That's the spirit. Don't let pain control your mind. You control it." A small group of other aliens gathered to watch. One of them, a young Kaliran boy, stepped forward. "Can I try?" he asked. Ethan nodded. Soon more aliens joined, each one testing themselves with little pains, small cuts, icy water, or holding a burning stick for a moment. Some failed and cried, but others lasted longer than they expected. Lyra helped them, repeating Ethan's words. For the first time, Lyra felt like a leader. She encouraged others, shared her own small victories, and made sure no one was left behind. The alien soldiers saw her bravery and started believing they could be strong too. After a while, Lyra noticed something about Ethan. His arm was hurting more than he admitted, but he never complained. She whispered to him, "Why do you keep going, even when no one is watching?" Ethan looked at her seriously. "If I quit when it gets hard, I can't protect anyone. In war, you have to keep moving, even if it hurts. That's what makes a difference." Lyra thought about those words. She realized that strength wasn't just about the body, it was about the mind. If she could keep her mind strong, maybe her body would follow. As the day ended, Lyra sat with her friends, sharing stories and laughter. She showed her small wound, proud instead of scared. For the first time, pain was not her enemy. It was her teacher. Meanwhile, rumors spread among the other aliens. Some laughed at Lyra's human games, but others were curious. A few older soldiers shook their heads, saying aliens would never be like humans. But Lyra knew better. She had already changed. And maybe, one day, her whole world would change too. As night fell, Lyra looked up at the stars and smiled. Strange lessons, she thought, could make anyone stronger, even someone who was once afraid of everything. The test of courage. The days passed quickly in the damaged camp. Repairs were slow, and every night brought new worries. But among the Kaliran aliens, a change had begun. Lyra and her friends practiced Ethan's pain lessons every morning, learning to breathe through small wounds, to stand taller after each challenge. But no lesson is real until it is tested. One cold evening, the alarm siren screamed through the camp. Red lights flashed. Everyone grabbed their weapons. The enemy was attacking again, this time closer and stronger than before. Ethan ran to the barricades, his bandaged arm strapped tightly to his chest. He saw Lyra rushing to help the medics, her face pale but determined. She remembered Ethan's words, "Control the fear, and you can control the pain." Suddenly, a powerful blast shook the ground. The barricade behind Lyra exploded, sending metal and debris everywhere. Lyra felt something heavy strike her leg, pinning her down. Pain shot through her body, sharp and blinding. For a moment, panic filled her mind. All around, the camp was chaos. Smoke and fire blocked the view. Alien soldiers shouted, running in every direction. No one seemed to notice Lyra lying trapped, her leg bleeding under the broken metal. Then through the smoke, Ethan appeared. His face was covered in ash, but his eyes were clear and focused. He knelt beside Lyra, quickly checking her wound. The metal had not broken her leg, but the pain was real. Lyra was trembling, tears in her eyes. "I can't move, Ethan," she whispered, her voice shaking. Ethan squeezed her hand. "Yes, you can. Listen to me, Lyra. Remember the breathing. You taught it to the others, now use it yourself. You're stronger than you think." Lyra tried to steady her breath, but fear was strong. The pain throbbed. She squeezed her eyes shut, focusing on Ethan's calm voice. "You have to lift your leg, just a little. On 3. 1, 2, 3. With a cry, Lyra pushed herself. The metal slid off her leg. The pain grew worse, but she didn't scream. Instead, she let the pain move through her, just as Ethan had taught her. Ethan quickly wrapped her leg with a strip of his own shirt. "That's it. You did it. You faced it, Lyra. You're brave." Other soldiers rushed over to help, lifting Lyra to safety. As they carried her away, Lyra looked back and saw Ethan limping back into the smoke, ready to help someone else. At the med tent, the other Kalirans gathered around her. Some were crying, others silent. But Lyra surprised them. She smiled, even with tears still wet on her cheeks. "I was afraid," she said, "but I remembered what Ethan said. I let the pain come, and I let it go. I'm still here." Her friends stared at her in amazement. One whispered, "Maybe we really can be strong, like humans." That night, as Lyra lay in her cot, she thought about what happened. For the first time, she realized something new. Strength was not only about pain, it was about courage. About trying even when you are afraid. In the morning, the whole camp was talking about Lyra, the story of the alien girl who faced pain like a human spread quickly. Some aliens even came to her, asking to join her lessons. Lyra felt proud, but she knew the truth. She had only done what Ethan taught her. Now it was time to teach others. The war was not over, but the camp had changed. Pain was still a part of every day, but now it carried a new lesson. With courage and friends, anything was possible. Broken and unbroken, the next morning, the sun rose over a battered camp. Smoke from the last battle still hung in the air, but there was a new energy among the soldiers. Word had spread about Lyra's courage, and more aliens wanted to learn the human way. Lyra, still limping from her injury, led morning practice. Even the grumpiest old warriors joined in, curious about the pain lessons. But something darker was coming. That afternoon, the enemy attacked again, harder than ever before. This time, they broke through the outer walls. Explosions shook the ground. Screams echoed everywhere. In the chaos, Ethan ran toward the front lines, not caring about his own injured arm. Lyra and a small group followed, determined to help. Suddenly, Ethan heard a loud crack. The ground under his feet gave way, and he fell into a deep hole, an old supply pit from before the war. The fall wasn't far, but the landing was hard. He landed on his side, pain shooting up his leg and arm. He tried to stand, but his leg gave out beneath him. Lyra peered over the edge, calling his name. "Ethan, are you okay?" Ethan looked up, sweat running down his face. "I'm alive, but my leg, I think it's broken." Lyra's heart pounded. She remembered how Ethan had helped her. Now she had to help him. The enemy was closing in, their footsteps thundering above. Lyra knew they didn't have much time. "Ethan, you always said pain is just a lesson," Lyra called down. "Can you climb if we help?" Ethan gritted his teeth. "First, I have to fix my leg." Lyra's eyes widened in shock. Was he really going to do it again? The other aliens around her started whispering nervously. Humans were tough, but this was too much. Was Ethan out of his mind? Ethan grabbed 2 metal rods from the broken crates in the pit. He pressed them on either side of his broken leg, using a torn strap to tie them tight. His breathing became slow and deep, just like he'd taught Lyra. She watched as he pressed down on his thigh. Steadying himself in one swift, terrible motion, Ethan forced the bone back into place. The crack echoed up the pit walls. He didn't scream. He didn't even whimper. Instead, he just let out a long, shaky breath. Lyra couldn't believe what she was seeing. The other aliens stared, their eyes wide with fear and respect. Ethan looked up at them, face pale but determined. "Throw me a rope," he said quietly. Working together, Lyra and the others lowered a rope into the pit. Ethan tied it around his waist. Using only his arms and his good leg, he climbed out, shaking but steady. The aliens reached out, pulling him to safety. For a moment, everyone stood in silence, watching Ethan. He was sweating, pale, clearly in pain, but still on his feet. Lyra supported him, and together, they moved away from the front line as explosions boomed behind them. The camp medic rushed to Ethan's side, shocked at the state of his leg. "You need help." The medic gasped. Ethan just shook his head. "Help the others first. I'll live." Lyra couldn't help but smile through her worry. "You're broken, but you're not defeated," she said. Ethan grinned back, despite the pain. "Broken and unbroken. That's how we keep fighting." By nightfall, the camp was safe again. Stories of Ethan's bravery spread even faster than the fire from the battle. Some aliens called him crazy, others called him a hero. But for Lyra, Ethan was something even more powerful, a teacher who proved that real strength comes not from never breaking, but from rising again every single time. As darkness fell, Lyra looked around at her friends. She saw courage in their eyes, hope in their voices, and a quiet promise they would never give up, no matter how much it hurt. The secret revealed: the camp grew quiet after the brutal attack. Most soldiers were too tired to speak. Lyra sat beside Ethan's bed, watching him rest. His leg was tightly bandaged. His face looked older than before, marked with pain but also with a strange peace. The medics insisted Ethan stay still, but she knew he was thinking about the next fight already. That night, Lyra couldn't sleep. Ethan's bravery kept replaying in her mind. How could he keep moving after such pain? How could any human? Lyra decided she needed answers, not just for herself, but for all Kalirans who wanted to be strong. The next day, Lyra wandered through the human part of the camp. She saw many scars and wounds, but not many complaints. Human soldiers laughed together as they mended their gear. Even the most injured seemed proud of their scars. Lyra found a group of human soldiers sitting around a campfire. She quietly asked if she could join them. They welcomed her with easy smiles and warm food. She gathered her courage and asked, "How do humans become so strong? How do you face pain like Ethan?" The oldest soldier, a woman with silver hair and a missing finger, laughed kindly. "You think we're born tough? No, little friend. We learn from falling, from failing, and from hurting. On Earth, life is not easy. We climb, we fight, we get hurt, and we get back up." Another soldier showed Lyra his own scars. "Every mark is a story. Sometimes we cry, sometimes we're afraid. But every time we survive, we become a little stronger." Lyra listened carefully, her heart growing lighter with every story. It was not magic. It was not a special human gene. The secret was in their hearts and minds, the will to get up every time life pushed them down. She realized this was something anyone could learn, even an alien like her. Lyra hurried back to the Kaliran tents and shared everything she had learned. Her friends listened with wide eyes. "We can be strong too," she said. "We just have to keep trying, even when it hurts. Even when we're afraid." To prove her point, Lyra stood up and balanced on her still healing leg. The pain was sharp, But she didn't sit down. See, it hurts, but I can do it. Tomorrow I will do more. And the next day, even more. The Kaliran soldiers began practicing, slowly at first. Some laughed at the idea, but most were curious. They tried walking with small pebbles in their shoes, pinching their arms, holding their breath when afraid. The lessons were strange, but each day their confidence grew. That evening, Ethan, still pale but stubborn, joined Lyra's group. He cheered for every small victory. "You're learning fast," he said, smiling at Lyra. "You're tougher than you think." Lyra felt a wave of pride and hope. For the first time, she saw her people differently, not weak, not fragile, but capable of change. As the sun set, the camp looked stronger. Humans and Kalirans sat together, sharing stories of old battles and old pains. Lyra realized the real secret wasn't pain itself, it was the courage to stand up. Again and again, no matter how many times you fall, she whispered to herself, maybe that's what it means to be truly unbreakable. A new beginning. The stars faded as morning arrived, painting the camp in pale light. It was the day of the final stand. Both human and Kaliran soldiers prepared themselves quietly, checking weapons and saying silent prayers. There was no fear. In their eyes this time only determination. Lyra stood near the command tent, her healing leg wrapped tight, but her posture strong. Ethan, still limping but smiling, handed out last-minute supplies. The air buzzed with tension, but also with hope. The lessons of pain and courage had changed everyone. The enemy returned at sunrise. This time, their machines thundered across the field, twice as many as before. Alarms sounded, and soldiers took their positions. No one ran, no one froze. Instead, Kalirans and humans stood shoulder to shoulder, ready. The first explosion shook the ground. Dust rose in the air. Lyra found herself on the front lines, a place she never imagined she'd be. Suddenly, her old fears came creeping back. What if she was not strong enough? What if the pain returned? Beside her, Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Remember what you've learned, Lyra. Pain is not your enemy. Fear is not your master. We fight together." The battle began. The enemy pressed hard, their weapons firing in all directions. Lyra was hit by shrapnel, her hand bleeding. For a split second, panic flared in her chest, but she forced herself to breathe, just like Ethan taught her. She pressed her wound and kept moving. Nearby, Ethan was cornered by enemy machines. He used his injured arm to block a strike, ignoring the fresh pain. He called out for help. This time it was Lyra who answered. She threw herself forward, pulling Ethan free. The two fought side by side, covering each other, helping wounded soldiers as they pushed forward. Other Kalirans saw them, saw Lyra's courage, and rushed to join. The aliens who once feared pain now fought bravely, ignoring wounds, supporting each other, never quitting. Suddenly, Lyra faced her own test. Her finger was dislocated by a blast. She remembered all the lessons. Gritting her teeth, she grabbed it and pulled, resetting her own bone without a scream, just like Ethan had done days before. The Kalirans around her gasped in disbelief, then cheered. The final wave of enemy machines advanced. For a moment, it looked hopeless. But the combined force of humans and Kalirans, their new courage and unity, turned the tide. With a final push, they destroyed the last enemy machines. Silence fell over the field. Lyra sank to her knees, exhausted but alive. Ethan knelt beside her, breathing hard but smiling. Around them, wounded but victorious soldiers hugged each other, laughing and crying at the same time. In that moment, something new was born, a bond between two worlds, built on courage, pain, and hope. The Kalirans were no longer afraid. The humans were no longer strangers. They were survivors. Together. As the sun rose higher, Lyra stood and looked at her friends. She realized that pain had not broken her, it had made her stronger. She wiped her tears and joined the celebration. From that day on, The story of the human who reset his arm and the alien girl who learned not to fear pain was told across the galaxy. And wherever there was fear, their story became a light for others, a promise that even in the darkest times, anyone can find the strength to stand again.